welcome to Pacific Indians Chatter here on the Pacific Sports Network. I'm your host, Cody Kelly, joined with my co-host, Scott Brown.
How you doing, Cody?
Oh, great, now that we're finally able to leave our house.
Yeah, that brings back memories, 1982 when I was a kid. Just crazy times, lots of sledding and lots of togetherness in the home.
Does not bring back memories for me. I wasn't born until 1990. Let's jump into the Riverbend Roundup. Not a lot going on at Riverbend as basketball just finished their season. So we have volleyball, and their first game is February 22nd. And that's it for the Riverbend Roundup. We're going to go up to 425 Indian Warpath, and we'll talk about wrestling, who was snowed out for the week. No contest, dealing with the weather.
Yeah, it looks like they get some extra time to practice for districts in Farmington.
Yeah, as we record today on Saturday, the girls will be heading to Lafayette for their districts.
Yeah, good luck, ladies. Let's jump over to the basketball. The boys basketball team had a triple header as they welcomed the St. Francis Borgia Knights to the reservation on Tuesday night. They played all three games in the new gym, I believe. The freshman team was the most competitive against the Knights on the evening. They had the game, I guess, closest 4 points in the third period. Ended up losing 47-30. I caught a little bit of it on our new YouTube channel. And it looks like the kids were competing and we're not afraid of the BORGIA on the front of the jerseys for the Knights. And they did compete really well. I think Coach King attested to that. The JV game was 66-31 loss for Coach Hillhouse. His JV boys still have a little trouble mustering offense. And against that Borgia matchup zone, that's been a mystery for a lot of us for years, trying to figure out ways to score against their defense. And they struggled a little bit on the offensive end that night. In the varsity game, the Indians played rather well on the defensive end against the Knights. The week before, the Knights had beat the Indians by 40-plus points in the Union Tournament, and the Indians lost 50-29 behind Quinn Blackburn's 10 points and 15 boards. He was really a menace to the Knights, trying to beat the Indians off the dribble, and lots of block shots and chain shots in that game as well for Quinn Blackburn. So I would say an improvement for the Indians. The effort was at a maximum for Coach Bradfish this night, and they still, like the JV, kind of need to find their consistency on offense and find a couple of scorers to go with Bradfish and Jack Meyer, guys that can contribute every night on the offensive end when they have a good defensive showing and give them a chance to beat good teams. They were snowed out Friday, the court warming game against St. James. That has been rescheduled, the game at least, for Wednesday, February 9th next week.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about the court warming rescheduled date yet. I'm sure we'll have that soon. Switching to the girls' sides of things, the girls went to Northwest High School on Monday night, and the JV had a big 29-19 win. With the scoring was spread out from many players. I think the leaders on the night was 6. After the game, I was able to catch up with head coach Ryan Carter. I'm joined post-game with JV coach Ryan Carter. His team just came off of a 29-19 win against Northwest. Coach, how did you get that done tonight?
I think what we have to look at for sure was our defense and rebounding, especially down in the second half. We were able to control the game really good, but we managed our time well and really got after it on the boards and defense tonight.
Yeah, it looked like you had a balanced scoring attack. Campbell Short led the way with 6, so it was spread around to everybody tonight.
And that's great to see. You see everybody touching the ball, getting after it, and putting those points up on the board throughout the team, which is a big team win for us.
And how nice is it to get that win without scoring that 30-point number that we talked about a few different times?
It feels good. I mean, we pride ourselves on our defense, and we continue to do that, and that's definitely a big key for us on this team.
All right, thanks, Coach, for joining us.
Thank you.
On the varsity side of things at Northwest, the girls came out with a big 45-38 win. The girls trailed by as many as, I believe, 10 or 11 points in that game, and they kind of turned the press on in the third, fourth quarter and really sped up Northwest, who did not like the press one bit. For the Indians, Shelby Kellerman led the way with 12 points. Lexi Clark chipped in 11, and Abby Hall had 10.
Sounds like the whistle was kind of tight this evening.
Yeah, I won't say anything real bad about the officiating, but it was not good. Lots of fouls on the Indians, probably 25, 30 fouls in the game. Abby Hall sat for most of the third quarter with 4 fouls. Molly Pritchard, 4 fouls. Shelby had 4 fouls. Abby ultimately ended up fouling out with about 3.5 to go when the game was tied, or maybe we were down by 1.
Well, you know this as well as I do. And on the baseball side of things, when we have an umpire that's struggling, the kids get emotional. They kind of lose their focus. It gets everybody off track. And part of the coach's job is to overcome that. And especially on the road, some nights you go to some places, you're going to have to overcome those calls, and you're going to get in some foul trouble, and people have to step up. And it sounds like they did.
And things that we talked about before, especially with Coach Missey, working with her is, and she hates to say it, is they have to learn how to win. And there's been times where they'll be down, and you can kind of see that they kind of get down on themselves. This night at Northwest, they were down 10 or 12, and you felt like they were winning the whole time.
Yeah, building a culture, building that confidence, knowing how to win. It does not come overnight. And in some programs, it's a process, and they're in the middle of that right now.
And then I was actually able to join Coach Missey post-game for a quick word. I'm joined post-game with Coach Melanie Missey, who might be down a voice after that tight battle. 45-38. How happy were you with your girls' performance tonight?
I mean, I was extremely happy. Again, there's two players that we needed to shut down, and the very first quarter she had 10 points, so we just had to make adjustments and get back to what we're used to doing and attacking. And you know, these refs played a very tight-knit game, so every little touch foul is a foul, put them on the line, and they're a great shooting free throw team. So we just had to make some adjustments, and I thought my girls pulled out, especially in a big fourth quarter.
Yeah, I was going to say the referees made it a different ball game and lots of fouls called, but you did a great job coaching some people in and out real quick. That seemed like a fun one to coach.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I mean, subbing girls in and out because we had most of our starters with 3 or 4 fouls, so that was definitely difficult to manage, but the girls pulled through.
Thank you, Coach, for joining us. I'll let you go because your voice is a little strained. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm joined with the Pacific backcourt duo, Lexi Clark and Abby Hall. Lexi, how does it feel to get a big road win?
It was great watching everyone play hard, hustle, and get after it. It's always nice to have a win.
And then, Abby, you fouled out with 3.5 to go and had to sit and watch, but your teammates kind of rallied around that.
Yeah, it was really fun watching everyone work together and all the hustle, and I was really excited for my team.
Then how excited were you guys to finally put the bow on Coach Carter?
Very, really excited.
I'm sure he loved that. Thank you, girls, for joining us. They had 21 points tonight combined for the Indians in their 45-38 win. Then on Tuesday night, a game that was originally scheduled for Thursday, which had to be moved around because of the snow, which was a great job in finding officials that were able to ref that night. The girls played St. James. The JV lost 38-27. Campbell Short led the way with 8 points, and Jalen Miller had 7, and Aaliyah Haddox had 7 points as well. On the varsity side of things, St. James Tigers ranked number 6 in the state. Varsity lost 67-27. Molly Pritchard led the way with 8 points, and Abby Hall had 7. That game was a little closer throughout most. It was inside of 20 at half, and kind of just sort of got away from them late. But they were hanging tough with a very, very good St. James team.
Yeah, the Lady Tigers, they're the bell cow for the Four Rivers. We had kind of like on the boys' side and the girls' side that night, the two measuring sticks for basketball in the area, with the Knights coming in and then the Lady Tigers. And I bet Coach Missey will find some positives in their performance.
Yeah, and said this team was very good from St. James. They're going to make a long run in the state process this year.
Yeah, they press on a miss. I think they press the whole game, make or miss. There's people in your face trying to get the ball up the floor. It's very stressful on your guards.
They run about 3 or 4 different presses, too, and they will change it up on you. You get used to zone, then it becomes man, then it's trapping, and it's just a nightmare.
Yeah, I can attest to that kind of team is hard to prepare for.
And that's pretty much all we got for the shortened week, thanks to the snow. So let's go to everybody's favorite segment of the show. Performance of the week. I'm going to go first just so I can take the obvious one. My performance of the week will go to the snow, as it gave us 3 snow days this week and canceled a bunch of games. It seemed like it had the most impact on the sports week for us.
Yeah, we did some sledding and ate poorly around the house, but my kids really loved it, and my wife tried some new recipes on us, and Mother Nature did her job this week for some snow days.
Yeah, it was a fun one. 3 days out, haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, on the cusp of that, my performance of the week, I'm going to go with Pacific Athletic Director Blair Thompson. When you have this much snow and games canceled, it becomes a scheduling and rescheduling nightmare, especially if you're toward the end of the season, making games work for other teams. I know wrestling, girls had their districts had to be pushed back a day, contact referees, schedule referees. It all becomes kind of a hassle. I know as a coach, I always bothered Mr. Herbst when he was the AD. Hey, can we have practice? What are they saying about practice? And I know they don't want to be bothered all morning long because they don't have any answers. But Blair Thompson, I'm sure, was working overtime, canceling buses, and a lot of the stuff goes into sporting events behind the scenes. And when you have cancellations and snow days, I got to go with Blair Thompson and also give the honorable mention to his secretary, Lauren Quino, for helping him out with that stuff.
Yeah, I've been there before, annoying ADs with the baseball field, and they always want to know if we're able to play. That might be one of the reasons why Mr. Herbst left, was having to deal with me all those years.
That could be. And
before anybody goes anywhere, though, this week we are joined with special guest Danny Missey of the 8th grade boys basketball team. He will talk about their 16-0 season and their crazy finish to their last game at the St. Clair tournament.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear Danny talk about his season. That should be really good.
And then next week, we're going to be joined by Mr. Ed Kapler, or should I say Coach Kapler of the speech team.
Yeah, Ed the legend. He's one of a kind and known by everybody in the hallways here at Pacific High School.
So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with Danny Missey. And we're back in studio with our guest today, 8th grade boys basketball coach, Danny Missey. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, before we jump into it, everybody kind of knows what's going on with the team this year. Before we get into all that, I'd like to let everybody know a little bit about you. So, do you want to tell them where you're from? I know you're a Pacific High School graduate. We graduated together.
Yeah, so from Pacific, played sports here, and after that I ended up going to Iowa Wesleyan College, where I played all 4 years, and it was some of the best years of my life, and I learned a lot of basketball, and that kind of gave me the love of and the inspiration to kind of coach. I had two great coaches that kind of pushed me in that direction as well, with John Van Leer, who pretty much taught me about the fundamentals of basketball and what it means to be, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people would follow along with this, as a Pacific Indian basketball player. And then went to college and kind of had the same kind of coach. He was a real intense guy like John and Alan Mignani, and he kind of just was an extension and just continued to play the same way, and he loved it.
Yeah, it's hard to talk Pacific basketball without mentioning Coach John Van Leer, since he was here for such a long time and did such a great job.
A huge impact on the program itself.
Some of those people that do know and don't know now that we had your wife on earlier, Coach Melanie Missey. She's the girls basketball varsity coach.
Yep.
So what's that like during the season when you guys got both of your seasons going on at the same time?
So it gets a little hectic around the house. We have our just about 7-month-old boy, Tatum, so finding a sitter for him, making sure he's taken care of, especially on nights that we play at the same time. And then it's almost kind of like basketball never stops. We get home, talk about our games, shoot ideas back and forth, and just kind of brainstorm on situations that are going on with each other's teams.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we wrap this up, we're both probably heading towards Washington for the girls' game tonight.
Yep, early game.
And Coach Melanie Missey always keeps turning me down for my babysitting services that I offer for some reason. I'm not sure why.
I wonder.
So this year's team, you've been coaching middle school, though, for a while now.
Yeah.
You know exactly how many years it's been?
I believe this was my sixth year.
So in your 6th year here, though, you went 16-0 with this group that you had. Before we jump into the season as a whole, the last game, though, to get to the 16th win of the year, to keep that perfect record, kind of was crazy. Seen the video a little bit on Facebook and stuff. Buzzer beater.
Yeah, it was. So that was the first time that my players has been in that situation all year long. We've typically been winning by 10 points. It's never been down to the wire, overtime on top of that. And there were times where the guys kind of, you could tell they were in unfamiliar territory, a little bit of deep water at times, and it was kind of keeping their heads on straight and reminding them that we're here for a reason, and we've done what we've done so far for a reason. But yeah, it was. Luckily, we played the foul game. There's about 8 seconds left. Missed both free throws. We got the board, outlet it out to the wing, got one dribble and a pass up the court. Donnell was wide open under the hoop, got it down to him. Missed the layup, but Gage Clark, who got the board off the free throw, he rim ran, and that was kind of everything that they've been coached to do. And all in one single play to end the season. It was pretty awesome.
Just watching the video, I tried to pause it as Gage caught, like as soon as he was letting it go, and it was about 0.3, 0.4 maybe.
Yeah, it was
if that.
It was had he not tipped it, had he not known the time and just had that basketball IQ of knowing that he didn't have the time to come down with the ball, it would have went into a third overtime.
Yeah, it helps being 6'4" too, so he was pretty close to the hoop.
Definitely helps.
This is what the end of that 8th grade championship game sounded like. Brought to you courtesy of the Pacific Sports Network and Pacific Indians Athletics YouTube page.
42-41, 8 seconds to go here in double overtime. The Indians trail. St. James Tigers at the line, shooting a free throw. Ball misses, rebounded by Clark. Clark got a little pressure, trying to outlet, gets it to Holman. Holman gets it up the court to Murphy, inside to Houghton for a layup. He missed it. Clark with the putback. Indians win. Indians win. 43-42, Indians win. Unreal. At the buzzer, Gage Clark with the putback, and the Indians win 43-42 to run their record to 16-0. Congratulations to Coach Danny Missey and the 8th grade boys to finish their season 16-0 and take home the St. Clair Championship. What a ball game. So as we talked about Gabe, we'll start with Gage there. He had 22 points last night and 11 rebounds for you. He's had several different performances like that. He was Performance of the Week last week, but I know you run out a bunch of other guys too that put up huge numbers throughout the season. If you want to just talk about your team as a whole.
Yeah, this was the most complete team I had ever had. I've had teams where there was a player or two, and it kind of sometimes would end there to where I would need other guys to really step up. With the team I had this year, all 10 of them, they knew their role, they played the role, and I don't think anyone was a poor teammate. I think everyone on that bench, everyone on the court was an ultimate teammate. So Gage, he would get double doubles, and he was our leading scorer, and he was kind of like the heart of the team. But then there's the guys that sometimes don't get the bright shining lights on them because they don't get the points. Like Troy Murphy, that dude can lock down defensively. He'll get up, he'll get after you, and that's something that I truly appreciate because that was in high school and in college. That was kind of the player that I was. I wouldn't put up the offensive output and all that kind of stuff, but on the other end, you were going to know me. You were going to know I was there. You were going to feel me, and so that's something that I really appreciated about Troy. And Seth Stack, he's one as well that he could score, offensive rebound, defensive rebound. He was a gamer. He was kind of our little X factor when he's in foul trouble or on the bench for some reason. The makeup of our team just completely changes. He's probably our X factor. And then we had Caden Holman. He was another one of the starters, and he is a sneaky good player. He's one that could put up a quiet 10 against you and you wouldn't even know. But in a middle school game, 10 points is a lot.
Mm-hmm. Got the 6-minute quarters.
Yep.
Last week when I had the coaches roundtable on, we talked about your team and they seemed pretty excited to have that bunch coming up next year.
And I talked to them after the game, and the I guess how much they grew in skills from between 7th and the 8th grade season. I mean, they were just head and toe better than what they were in 7th grade, and they were good in 7th grade. And I reminded them, you have to continue to be that hungry, because although this was the end of the season and this is the way we wanted to end it, we can't be satisfied. And basketball does not stop. You guys have 4 more years at the least.
And you talk about the improvement. I mean, they weren't 16-0 last year, was it?
No, what were we? I think we were 11-5,
Which is
maybe.
a good record.
Yeah, it's still a very
to take
good
the
record.
jump to undefeated and
Yeah.
eliminate those 5 games is pretty impressive. That's some off-season work, maybe a little bit of growing too for some kids.
Yeah, something's in the
They're
water.
pretty tall. And then quickly though, the 6th grade group coming up, I believe they're 22-0. Last time I heard a check on their record.
Yeah. I saw a post from one of the dads, 26 now, 26-0, and that's impressive. They're a gritty group.
So you and Coach Kaz would probably be fighting over who's going to take that group next
Oh
year
yeah,
at the 7th grade level.
We're both excited no matter what. This year was pretty awesome having him by my side, and he even just last night he helped out quite a bit.
And that's what we touched on earlier. Me and Coach Brown talked about how the program to have a bond. It sounded like the 7th graders played at Sullivan, brought the bus back to St. Clair, and got off and stayed and watched your guys' game.
Oh, it was that. Yeah, this is the tightest knit like 7th and 8th grade group I've had in my 6 years, and it was pretty cool. At the end of the game, everyone left. We got out of the locker room. The 8th graders pulled the 7th graders to the center of St. Clair's court. They were in a huddle. I can't tell you the context of what was said. I have no clue, but it was something truly special. And I think it might kind of get those 7th graders hungry seeing those guys, and hope I can only imagine positive things being said in that huddle.
Yeah, Corey talked about his 7th grade team, how they improved over the years. So maybe that's another one of those teams that improves in the offseason and is ready to go next year. As we wind down the season, though, 16-0, I believe, and somebody can let us know, I think there's only been 3 teams ever do that. Cameron Van Leer's group went 32-0, and then Cullen Van Leer's group was 16-0 one of their years. They dropped one the other year. You get to join in with those group of those kids. That's a pretty good group.
That's pretty elite company right there. When you talk about
championship group there, and Division I basketball player group there.
And it's like other people within those teams as well were darn good basketball players, and I try not to talk about going undefeated throughout the season. I didn't want the guys to think about it. And then after the game, I kind of brought that up, like, you guys are one of 3 teams to ever do this. And I was like, do you know who the other people are? And they kind of smirked, and they had done their homework, I think, and they knew it was the Van Leer teams, and they were pretty pumped. They knew the company that they were joining, and I think that's pretty special for them.
Yeah, because, your middle school group was pretty good, but it never accomplished 16-0.
Oh, no.
It was a solid group led by Coach Portell. So this is going to be a new thing, though. Anytime I have somebody on that played for some of our old coaches, just like to throw it out there. Coach Van Leer, you got a moment or a memory that sticks out in game?
Not in game. Some of the best times were not in games. The best memories about him.
Something that's appropriate that we could talk about here, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember going down to Nixa. We were down in Nixa for a shootout at a summer camp, and we didn't play how he wanted us to play. So in between games, because usually you play 3-4 games in a day. So in between games, in the middle of summer, we're out doing line drills on a parking lot. You can imagine how many lines are on a parking lot. We're in our basketball gear, full jersey, shoes. He didn't give us any time, no after game speech. Took us out there and kind of taught us a little lesson.
Yeah, he got results though. Teams are always tough here. It's part of his mentality. So to finish up, my last question for you, because people have to know. They've been wanting to know. So why were you the better basketball player than your wife?
I wouldn't go as far as that. She does have a All-American plaque. Has one of those. I don't. We were both real good at what we did. She was much more of the I'm gonna go score 20 points for you, and I'm a score maybe 8, and I'll make sure the best player on the other team is 6 points below their average. But yeah, that's also a common kind of running joke within the household. When we take jabs at each other about being better shooters and things along that.
Who can win
fun.
a game of horse? I've heard all that before.
Yeah, that goes back and forth. The horse does. Don't let her lie to you.
It's just fun because when we had her on, I know she would have probably said some stuff a little different than you, but I didn't give her the chance, so this is why we're going to throw it out there now.
You're getting the truth.
Yes. Once again, Coach, thank you for joining us. You guys had a great season. There's not much else to say. 16-0 is just pretty impressive.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. And these guys deserve a bunch of recognition for all the work that they put in.
And 7th and 8th grade, we're trying to get them as much exposure as the high school. They deserve to have their name out for doing something as great as they did. That will end it for our interview with Coach Missey. So until next week, keep up the chatter.